Hi guys, today we're going to begin with chapter 21. And this is a really pivotal chapter in this book because, well, you'll see in a second, but this chapter is called No Miss Brooks, so that kind of gives you some insight in why this is a tricky chapter for Caitlin. The rest of class runs out of the classroom to go to recess, and I get up to go to Miss Brooke time, and I decide to ask her if Dad can come see her since she doesn't charge insurance. At least she never charges me insurance, and she said that she could see him even though he's a grown-up. Mrs. Johnson said, "Oh, Caitlin, I almost forgot. Mrs. Brooke isn't here." "I know, she's in her room," I say. "No, she had to go out of town." "Why?" "Her sister is having difficulty with her pregnancy." I look at the person. Mrs. Johnson looks at the floor and then at me. "She's having a lot of trouble with her twin babies who aren't born yet." "I thought babies were only a lot of trouble after they were born." "Well, sometimes it's before and after. So Mrs. Brooke is going to see what she can do to help her sister." She sighs. "I hope everything goes well." "I wonder what that means." "What if it doesn't?" I ask. "I just mean I hope the babies are fine." "Well, what if they're not? What will be wrong with them?" "I'm sure they will be fine. Pregnancy is just hard." "How does she know?" "Are you pregnant?" I ask her. Mrs. Johnson's face turns pinkish. No. "I don't want to be pregnant either," I say. I have enough hard things to deal with." Mrs. Johnson lets me sit in the classroom instead of going out to recess, and she gives me a paper so I can draw. I decide to draw a picture of Mrs. Brooke of some stuffed animals looking at the facial expressions chart because I have that chart memorized, and Mrs. Johnson said that I should write a letter to Mrs. Brooke to go along with my drawing, and I sigh because I'd rather draw, but Mrs. Johnson looks at the person hard, so I write the letter even though I'm much better at drawing than writing, and Mrs. Johnson should know that by now. "Dear Mrs. Brooke, I'm sorry about your difficult sister and the babies who are still inside of her causing trouble. I hope they start behaving so you can come back soon. I will even practice my finesse and keep pace with you when we walk, and I promise I will be your friend. Scout's honor, Caitlin Ann Smith." Chapter 22 is called Drawings. Dad says we're going to a fundraiser for the families of the people who were shot. He says it's being given by people who care about us and want to help us, and even though I don't like crowds, we still have to go because we have to show we appreciate what they're doing for us, and we should act like we appreciate it and like we want to be there, even if we don't want to, because no one has to do a fundraiser, but they're doing it anyway. "I want to go," I tell him, "so you can stop making excuses." A fundraiser sounds like a good thing. So he stops talking and he tilts his head like he doesn't get it, and I don't know why. "What kind of fun things will be there?" I ask. He shrugs. "I don't know. I think it's a silent auction and a raffle, and I'm not sure what else." "Oh, that doesn't sound like much fun." "Caitlin," he says with a warning voice. Okay. The fundraiser is in the Virginia Dare Middle School cafeteria. When we get out of the car near the cafeteria door, Dad stops and stares at the school for a moment. He blinks a lot and he swallows hard, so the lump that sticks out of his throat keeps going in and out. Finally, he takes a sharp breath before he pulls the door open. The noise spills out, and it smells like soggy spaghetti, and the light makes me squint, and almost immediately bodies cover us like we are germs, and they are all white blood cells sent to surround and destroy us. I think I will choke. I grab Dad's hand. It's big and hairy and sweaty, but I deal with it. It's because otherwise I think I will be smothered. "This is my daughter, Caitlin," Dad says. "Hello, Caitlin," a voice says. "How are you?" I keep looking at the ground, and Dad's head comes down to my face. "Remember to look at the person and say something nice." I don't look at the person, but I say nice stuff. "I'm 10, my birthday's next month, my favorite color is purple, my favorite game is Mario Kart, but any video game is fine. My favorite video is Bambi, except lately I don't like to watch it so much." "Oh, well, that's nice," the voice says, and the body moves away. Dad says, "Not so much about yourself next time." I try to tell him that I'm being helpful because I'm giving people information about what I want for my birthday in case they want to buy me something, but Dad introduces me to another person. This time I look at the hat, which is at least close to looking at the person. The hat is the size of an umbrella, and it gives me an idea of what to say. When people say it's raining cats and dogs, it really isn't. That just means that it's raining a lot. But it can rain frogs, and they get sucked up into the storm and plop down on top of your head. Also, snow can be pink if red dirt dissolves in water that evaporates, and Dad squeezes my shoulder. That means the conversation needs to be over. Another voice shouts, "Hi, Caitlin." A big hand comes into my personal space, so I back up. "Say hello," Dad says. "Hello." "Look at the person," Dad reminds me. I keep my head down, but I tilt it enough to see his ears. Dad says, "Caitlin," in a warning voice. "What? That's closer than the hat." "Say something nice," Dad hisses. When Dad hisses, it's serious. He will not let me leave until I say something nice. So I try to focus and I stare at the ear, and what is something nice that I can say? Finally, I realize it. "I don't think you're disgusting just because you have hair sticking out of your ear," I say. Dad pulls me away by both of my shoulders, which means the conversation is over now. Have you guys ever had a situation like that in a social setting where maybe you or somebody you know says something and your parents are like, "Boop, done, get out of here, time to leave"? I know I have. I look around for Michael because his mother was shot like Devin, so he should be at the fundraiser too. I know he's Josh's friend now and not mine, but I don't like all of these people, so I wish I could at least see him. Suddenly, a face is in front of me, and coffee breath goes up my nostrils, and a voice says, "I have someone I bet you'd like to meet." I bet she's wrong. She grabs the hand that isn't holding Dad, and I yank it away from her. "I'll go with you," Daddy says. We follow Coffee Breath Woman to an easel with a light on it, and I stare at it. "See? I thought you'd like Mr. Walters." I don't know who or what Mr. Walters is, but I do like the easel. And there's a cartoon picture of a boy on it, and he has a tiny body and a huge head. And his mouth is grinning so much that his cheeks push his eyes up into the corners, like his eyes look happy, and like photos of the eyes of Miss Brooks has shown me a million times. A man's hand appears and adds tufts of stickety-outy hair to the giant head. I laughed. Maybe this will be a fundraiser after all. "You like it?" the man's voice says. I nod. Normally I don't talk to strangers, but if you can draw like this, he can't be strange. "I'm Charlie Walters, the middle school art teacher," the voice says. "Shall I do your picture?" "I do my own pictures," I tell him. "I mean, shall I draw a picture of you?" "No. Why would I want a picture of me?" "Your dad here might want a picture of you." I shake my head. He sees me every day. He doesn't need a picture. "But this is a different kind of picture. This captures personality and emotions." I look at the person. I look at the hand with his pencil. It's a charcoal pencil, like mine. He chuckles. "You don't believe me?" I shake my head. "I'll show you. Sit down, over there." "No, I want to watch you capture someone's emotion." "Draw me," Dad says. He sits on a little stool beyond the easel, and I watch the cartoon character grow from a potato head to a porcupine head to a dad head. Mr. Walters puts the ears on the head first, then the nose and the mouth, and he squints at Dad for a while before he draws the eyes, and he's very careful with the eyes. He draws them in stages from the outside in. He doesn't stop when he gets to the inside, though. He takes a blue pencil and draws little colored dots and lines to make the eyes look deep and textured and full. And something else, too. They look sad. I stare at Dad's real eyes, and I think I see the sad in there too, although it's easier for me to see in the picture. The picture doesn't blink or look away. "You should do the facial expressions chart at school," I tell him. "You would do a much better job than the one we have now." "Thank you very much," he says, and he nods and smiles. He pulls a sheet of paper off the easel and gives it to Dad and hands me the charcoal pencil. "Would you like to try drawing me now?" I'm not so good with people or emotions. "I think you're observant, though," he says, "and that's the first step." I look at the person. I stare into his eyes. His eyes look happy, but not in a mean, laughy kind of happy. "Are you happy?" "Yes." "Now let's see if you can draw that." He is still holding a charcoal pencil out to me, so I take it. Mr. Walters gets up and goes over to the stool and sits down facing me. Dad is standing behind me. "Go ahead, draw Mr. Walters," he says. "Well, don't watch me. I can't draw if you're going to watch." "All right. I'll wander around the room and I'll look at other things, okay?" "Okay. If there's a fishing booth, let me know because those always have good prizes. And if there's any gummy worms, grab some before they're all gone. Please." I stare at the huge blank paper in front of me. Usually I only have small pieces of paper. I see a hand waving on the outside of the easel. "Yoo-hoo! You have to look over here." I peek around the easel. It's Mr. Walters. "Start with the outside of my head, like I did with your dad." So I make a Mr. Potato Head. And then I add hair, but only a little, because Mr. Walters doesn't have very much. And then the nose is easy, and so are the ears, and the mouth is harder. Usually I look at the mouths when there are words coming out, and right now there's nothing coming out of his. It's flat. I do notice some curves or creases, though, so I put those in. "Feel free to use the colored pencils or pastels, too," he says. I shake my head. I don't use color. My drawings are black and white with no blurry stuff. It's easier to see that way. Blurry stuff is for the stuffed animaling and not for drawing. Mr. Walters tilts his head like he doesn't get it, but I don't want to explain it right now because I'm busy drawing. Wow, a voice says behind me. That's awesome. Did you really draw that? I put my arms over the picture to cover it up before turning around to see Emma from school. Let's see it, she said. No. Come on, keep going. I want to watch. I can't do it if you're watching, I tell her. Please? No. A hand squeezes Emma's shoulder and a woman's voice says, let's give her some space and we can come back when she's done. Emma makes a snotty sound but moves away. Good. I'm still stuck on the eyes of my picture, however. I stare at the paper. You need to look at my eyes, Mr. Walters says. I sighed. Are you related to Mrs. Brooke? No, why? She always tells me to look in her eyes, too. Eyes are the windows to the soul, Mr. Walters says. If you look inside the eyes, you can see so much about a person. I look at the person, including his eyes. Really? He smiles and nods. But there's something wrong with his smile. I stare into his eyes. Maybe what's wrong is in his eyes. They don't look happy like the photos of happy eyes Mrs. Brooke has shown at the corners. Like happy eyes are supposed to be. Something is wrong, I tell him. Why do you say that? Your eyes and mouth don't match. Ah, he nods. Maybe you're better at emotions than you think. Except I don't know which is right. Both. I'm smiling because I think you're a wonderful, talented girl, and my eyes are sad because I'm thinking about what you and your dad are going through. I think for a minute about what he means. Oh, because of Devin. Yeah, because of Devin. He was in my class one quarter, and I miss him. Everyone here misses him. Why do you miss him? You're the art teacher. He can't even draw. We all have different passions. His passion was being an Eagle Scout. He won't be able to finish the Eagle Scout chest, though. He can't ever make eagle. He nods. I've heard about that wooden chest. His voice is cracky. It's so hard. Devin says if it's hard, that just means you have to work at it. He shrugs, but sniffs too much to talk. Maybe you need to find closure. He looks at the person. I think we all need to find closure. It hurt the whole community. We are all sad. His eyes are so sad now that they're starting to water. I put the pencil down on the easel tray. I don't feel like drawing anymore. I'm sorry, he says as he jumps from the stool. I didn't mean to make you feel sad. He looks at the paper. Wow, this is amazing. Don't you want to give the eyes a try? I shake my head. I don't think I can do a complete face yet. Maybe later. He pulls the eyeless picture off the easel and he hands it to me. After Dad is in bed, I sneak back into Devin's room and I tape Mr. Walters on the wall next to my picture of the eagle. This is the first picture of a face I've ever done, even if it doesn't have eyes. So what I want you guys to do now is just take a second and talk about the connection to emotions and drawing that is being created here in these two chapters. How do you feel like this is going to impact Caitlin? Why is it important for her to even be working through this? And how is her drawing helping her grow in empathy? Draw those out or write those out, and I'll be checking for this in your note check this week.